Hello and welcome to another episode of Cake Fight Presents The Making of Kaleidoscope. I'm Paige Feldman, writer, director, and producer. And in this series, I'm taking you through all the steps that I'm taking to make my debut feature film as a writer-director. We're going from idea to premiere in real time. And today, I'm back at home, new background, figured I'd change it up. I'm down in my dining room instead of the office where I usually am. And the change up is because we're going to be doing something that we've done before, which is the 36 questions to fall in love. We are back on that. So if you aren't familiar with this series, you want to start at the beginning. I'm just going to push a little link up there to the first video in this series. But if you just want to join us where you are today, that's awesome. And I'll give you a quick rundown. So the 36 questions to fall in love is from an article in the New York Times Modern Love section, and I'll include a link in the description below. And these are questions that the author hypothesizes that if two people answer them together, they will form an emotional attachment to each other. They will feel intimate with each other in a way that people do when they fall in love. And I needed something to figure out how my main characters in the romantic comedy I'm writing, how they were going to fall in love. So I had this article in my back pocket and I figured what better way to find out what makes my characters tick and what makes their relationship work than write little scenes where they're answering these questions. So that's what we're doing. I've gone through question 21 thus far, and today we're gonna go questions 22 through 30. And I say it like that because it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these series. And at this point, if you're counting the days, I should actually have finished all 36 questions. But, you know, life gets in the way sometimes. I had episode 8 of How to Fall in Love the Hard Way to record. And I was at the Minnesota Web Fest, as you saw last week, in the Sculpture Garden. And so I'm behind, which is fine. I am still plenty on track to have a draft of the script done by December 31st. So don't worry, it's gonna happen. We're just a little behind on this one task. So today we're gonna go questions 22 through 30. And I just answered question 30 right before I came down and started recording this intro. So let's go. Let's get questions 22 through 29, all those video diaries played. And then when we're done, come back here, tell you all about question 30. So let's roll those titles. So it is Wednesday, October 15th.
How come I messed up so bad in the first place? I blame it on the stars, I blame it on the rain. I am saying your name.
And I'm doing my nightly stretching. Gotta keep all of the muscles limber and all that because I do a lot of running, and otherwise it gets real tight and not fun, especially because I sit down to work all day. So while I'm doing these static stretches, I will tell you about question 22 that I answered earlier today. Name an attribute you like about your partner and then alternate naming a total of 5 things. A total of 5 things. So one thing I loved about this question is that it was much different from a lot of the questions that I've been answering recently, which are things like, what do love and affection mean to you? And what does friendship mean to you? And very sticky philosophical questions, which, while they might be interesting to discuss with the person live, it doesn't make for good drama. This idea that they have to name 5 things total, which means that one person names 3 things and the other person names 2 things, provided a bit of conflict. And it also helped me get back into that more happy place that I was looking to get into with Jonah. And one thing I noticed towards the end of writing this There I go. There's the end of writing this this vignette, is that I was doing a lot with Jonah, a lot of him giving looks at Lee or communicating just with his face because, like I've been saying, I'm so used to writing an audio drama at this point that it's difficult for me to remember that I can do things visually, don't have to write every emotion into a line of dialogue. But I think that a lot of that visual storytelling is making Jonah a bit sad. So towards the end, I mean, really, like the last 4 or 5 lines, I decided, why not keep writing Jonah like I'm in an audio drama? Just him. Lee can be very quiet and internal and show emotions on her face, but what happens if I just give myself free rein to let Jonah talk? What if he's a talker? I didn't get much of a chance to try it at the end of this vignette, but I'm gonna go for it, not tomorrow, because tomorrow is Yom Kippur Day. It's actually currently Yom Kippur, but you know, you start a fast after 3 hours and it just feels like you haven't eaten like a normal person. Yeah, but tomorrow I'm going to be fasting, so no writing. But on Friday, I will get to question 23 and see what happens if I just make Jonah say everything out loud. Maybe I'll find something there. Or maybe not. That's the purpose of all this, is to try things out, see what works and what doesn't. So I hope everyone who's fasting has an easy fast, has a meaningful Yom Kippur, or did, because this will be a few weeks afterwards. And I'll talk to y'all on Friday. It is Friday, September 17th, and I just answered question 23, which is, how close and warm is your family? Do you feel like you had a happy childhood growing up compared to most people? I feel like this is a question that someone would pay an exorbitant amount to go to therapy and talk about. Who are these people who are asking these questions to people that they're looking to fall in love with? There's a lot to unpack here. I didn't even know where to start, but luckily, like I've said in a few other videos, one of Jonah's, it's not a character trait, just a fact about his life, is that his little brother is a Disney Channel star, or was, and now is grown up. So I had Jonah do a bit of his stand-up comedy routine, which I haven't written yet because I'm a little bit afraid of it, because I'm kind of scared to write stand-up. I don't know what I'm doing. I only realized I was a comedy writer like 4 years ago at this point, and since I've been writing since I was 6 years old is when I wrote my first story. That's, it's 26 years of thinking I couldn't write comedy, and now 4 years of realizing I can and being afraid of it. So I wrote a little bit of stand-up. It wasn't great. That's okay. I did it. I broke that seal. And then Lee answered the question, and I found out she had some siblings, and I hadn't really thought about that. I kind of felt like she might be an only child, but I mean, I have a sister. I like having characters that have siblings because there's things about those relationships that are interesting. So piggybacking off of what I said on Wednesday, one other tidbit about this question is that I'm finding that when Jonah is saying a lot and being gregarious, in a way I've decided that I want to try to make him less introspective, Lee suddenly says more. And so I'm wondering if this is a result of characters being characters and his gregariousness gets her to talk more, or is this the case of a writer being a writer and it's easier to have two characters talking at the same rate versus one being a lot and one being stoic? Something to consider as I continue on in these questions. I am glad that I'm finding a lot of smaller things to nitpick about these characters as I continue on further in this exercise, because I definitely was afraid that I've already found out everything I needed to know about the characters and I'm going to be answering, 17 questions, because I thought at question 19 I felt done. I was going to be answering 17 questions just for no reason other than I said I was going to. Hello, it is Wednesday, September 29th, and I know I have been away for a while from answering these questions, and it's because I was really busy preparing for the Minnesota Web Fest and also recording episode 8 of How to Fall in Love the Hard Way. But I am done with those two things. I'm back to doing this. We're gonna power through the rest of these 36 questions. I did question 24 today, and that question was, how would you describe your relationship with your mother, and how do you feel about it? This is such a loaded question, and it feels very like psychological, especially when combined with the last question that they answered. So the answers to that question, not gonna tell you about that today because it's fine, like it's not that important. The thing that I want to talk about is that I gave myself permission to make mistakes today. And not that anyone's really gonna see these answers in any meaningful way, but what I mean is, while I've been writing the answers, I've been really focused on making sure that Lee and Jonah sound and feel real this whole time. And I mean, I've done that, and I think I've done a good job of it, but I've also been suppressing some, I don't know if I'd call them instincts, but desires to try some stuff that don't feel right. And today I just let that go. So I love writing a good dirty joke. If you want to hear a lot of them, listen to How to Fall in Love the Hard Way. And I don't feel like it's right for Jonah to tell them for some reason, and maybe I'll change my mind. But today, one just kind of popped into my head, and I thought, yeah, let's do this. Let's see what it feels like. And it didn't feel right, and I think part of the reason it didn't feel right is because Lee would not respond positively to those types of jokes. Or maybe she would. I'm gonna have to give some thought to it, but anyway, it felt good to try. And it felt good to say, you know what, that didn't work, but I'm still gonna leave it in the scene. I actually had Lee made a comment about it, and then Jonah said, you know what, I didn't like that either. So I don't know what the conclusion is about the dirty jokes, but I do know that I gave myself some freedom to make a mistake today, and now I have a lot more questions, and I think they're super valuable questions about character. So I'm gonna chalk it up as a win. It is Thursday, September 30th, and I just finished answering question 25. Make 3 true we statements each. For example, we in this room are feeling ... These questions are turning into marriage counseling. It's weird. I'm not in favor of them. I don't think I would even ask someone this if I was trying to use this as a method to fall in love with someone. This is a dumb question. There are no stupid questions except for this one. Piggybacking off of what I did yesterday in terms of writing that dirty joke for Jonah, even though I didn't think it was right for him, sparked something in me. Because realizing that dirty jokes weren't within his voice, my question was, well, what was? And with this question, I elected to turn it into some kind of wordplay. And actually that was fun, and it worked really well. And also it matched up with things that Jonah has said earlier in these exercises. The fact that he's really good with words, and Lee notices that and likes that. So, and even a joke that I wrote for him a few questions ago is very much based on wordplay. So it's not puns necessarily, but it's definitely clever. Letting myself just fail on purpose has opened up some answers for me, and that's pretty cool, even if this question was dumb. It is Friday, October 1st, and I cannot make myself satisfied with my hair, but I did just answer question 26, which was, please complete the statement. I wish I had someone with whom I could share ... Again, not a fan of this question. Feels like we're reaching here. Feels like we're going into couples counseling again, but that's not the point, and honestly the answers aren't the point, because I couldn't think of any good ones because the word whom kind of throws me off. It's too formal. So for Jonah and Lee, what I was thinking about while I was writing this, is actually I started off with Jonah making a similar joke about the word whom. I started off with Jonah making a similar joke about the word whom. And then but in order to set that up, Lee needed to say something about the question or something. And I had her doing her usual Ice Queen thing. And I just felt very tired writing it. And not in a bored way, but in a, wow, it must be exhausting to act so disaffected all the time. And it got me thinking, do I want Lee to be an Ice Queen? What if she was like bubbly and down for anything and just didn't know herself very well and was afraid to share that with the world? It's the same feelings, but it's a different presentation of those feelings. So I thought about it for a while, and actually I reread an entire screenplay that I had written because I didn't want the Lee to be the same as the character Maxine in that script. So I read the whole script and realized that if Lee was a little bit more bubbly and open and oblivious, she wouldn't be like Maxine, but also she would still have a similar level of insecurity there. And the thing that I love about Lee that I've chosen to do is make her really confident and powerful and in control of herself from moment one. It's just that she's afraid to step out of that persona. She's afraid to be vulnerable. It's not something I haven't done before, and I liked it. And I think part of my being tired while I'm writing Lee's lines is an important part of her character. So I'm going to keep Lee the way she is. This question, though, it provoked that thought in me, and that I think is the real gem here in question 26, because this question and the answer ain't it. It is Saturday, October 2nd, and I just finished question 27. If you were to become close friends with your partner, meaning the person you're speaking to, what is something that they should know? And so continues the tradition of who would possibly answer these questions. I'm pretty sure the person who wrote these questions just started running out of ideas. That question that I just asked, who would write these, who would answer these, gave me an idea. So I don't feel like I would have any sort of requirements or things that people should know if they were going to be my friend. I figured they'd figure it out along the way. But then I thought maybe Lee would, because she is very, uptight's not the right word, but let's go with uptight. What if she just was so type A that she was extremely self-aware about the types of things that people would need to know if they were going to be her friend? So I had her list off things like, you have to be punctual, and if you're not, you need to tell me how late you're going to be, and hopefully account for any unexpected things like traffic. And she doesn't want to hear about your diet, and she doesn't want to go to a dive bar or to a club. She wants just like cozy bars where you can dress cute and hear each other talk. And she goes to Soul Cycle at 9 a.m. on Saturdays, so she will leave any event at midnight on Friday in order to make sure that she gets enough sleep before her workout. And so she goes through all these things. Jonah stops her in the middle of this list and says, hey, like, I don't have any requirements for my friends. And then Lee lawyers him. She asks him if he's late, and he says yes. And so she says, well, then your friends need to be able to tolerate lateness. And she asks him if people need to go to his comedy shows, and he says no. And she says, okay, so, do they come anyway? And he says he doesn't tell his friends about his comedy shows. And so she concludes that the other requirement is that they can't know him too well, because if they did, they would want to support him, and he doesn't want anyone to know about his comedy dreams. And I kind of loved how this scene turned out, and I'm mad that this question has worked, because it's a stupid question again. But I feel like I really got a handle on some banter and some patter between these two characters, and writing them started to feel comfortable in a way that usually doesn't until I'm midway through a script. And I know I keep saying, I've got their voice, but it's not even that I've gotten their voice, it's that I think maybe I'm just starting to inhabit this dynamic that that I've created. And I'm liking it. And tomorrow I will go through another one of these bonkers end of the list questions. But for now, I am glad to be continuing this exercise. I'm feeling like I'm making progress. And even though I don't like this question, it did a lot for me. So that's good. Good morning, or I guess it is still morning. It's 11:25. It is Sunday, October 3rd. And I am making some pancakes here. And before I started making these pancakes, though, I answered question 28, which was, be very honest to your partner, more honest than you might be to someone who you than you might be to someone who you've just met, and tell them something you like about them. And for this answer, first of all, this question is not terrible, so I'm glad we're out of the terrible couples counseling questions. And this answer, I feel like I've kind of answered this question a lot before in the other questions just by matter of rote. So the thing that I focused on today was getting to this answer, because just complimenting someone outright, it can be really awkward and weird. And so I wanted to emphasize their discomfort. So Lee gave her compliment with caveats. Despite how much you talk, Jonah, you actually are a really good listener and a keen observer of the human condition. And for Lee, Jonah, he didn't just compliment her. He actually told her he thinks people compliment her too much, and she has more power than she realizes, and would probably realize that more if she stopped trying to please everybody. So those were good answers. I feel like I'm sinking into their voices in a very real way. And I like this negative bent that I've found for Lee, where she speaks in caveats, not because she is pessimistic maybe, but because she wants to be as accurate as possible, and not everything is just black and white. So that's the answer to this question. This question is, thank goodness, much better than the past few have been. And I am gonna keep making these pancakes, have a great brunch, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. That was the weirdest finger guns I've ever heard. Hey everyone, it is Monday, October 4th, and here in Los Angeles we are having a thunderstorm. So I've decided to step out onto my porch. There, you can hear it. You can hear the thunder. And I am going to give you the answer to question 29, which is, tell your partner an embarrassing thing that happened to you. So I like this question. Oh, I think we just got some more lightning. That's exciting. This question's like a normal question. No more couples counseling again. And the thing that this question taught me is, first of all, that Jonah is embarrassed not about things that might embarrass the rest of us, like, you know, walking around with your fly undone or people thinking you peed your pants, but stuff that involves status and also his mental health. He has panic attacks, and so being caught in the middle of a panic attack is something that seriously embarrasses him. And for Lee, she is very much conventionally embarrassed by things. Her story was how she got her period on a white suit in the middle of a presentation at a speech and debate competition, which that sounds terrifying, and also I've had similar things happen to me. Not my most embarrassing moment, but definitely top 10. Something I have learned about my characters through this question, about Lee in particular, is I've figured out what I like about her. And it's a weird thing to say because, you know, you should like your characters, relate to them, and I do relate to her, but I didn't figure out the thing that just makes me admire her. And I find the heart of my stories often through my female characters. And for Lee, it's the fact that when she feels uncomfortable or nervous, she does the opposite thing that we women are taught to do. And by taught, I mean just by society. And that is, she makes herself bigger when she's scared. And women are definitely taught to make ourselves smaller, less noticeable, but Lee makes herself, she lengthens her spine, she finds room in her shoulders to broaden them, she becomes very silent, so she's quiet in that way, she's made small in that way, but she makes her physical presence larger. And I love that as an instinct, and this one quirk is the thing that makes me excited to write her. Jonah, I have so many reasons that I love to write him, and that mental health aspect and the panic attacks aspect is definitely one of them. But for Lee, I've been looking for that point of connection, and this fact that she makes herself larger, it's fantastic. Good job, me. Pat myself on the back. And it is actually lovely out here with all the cool wind and the rain and the somewhat infrequent thunder, so I think I'm going to go for a walk now. See you tomorrow for question 30. We're almost done. And we're back. Hope you all enjoyed those video diaries. And now it is Tuesday, October 5th, and I just answered question 30, which feels like such a huge milestone. So question 30 is, when was the last time you cried in front of someone? Or just by yourself? In today's question, I found a commonality between Lee and Jonah, which is almost as important as when I find those points of conflict. And this commonality is that they're both extremely uncomfortable with emotion. And I was gonna say I didn't write it intentionally that way, but knowing me, one of the themes I love exploring in my work is how awkward and weird all of this love stuff feels. Like, bearing your soul, like, God, like it kind of sucks sometimes. So to have two characters who feel like being emotionally closed off is safer than being emotionally open, I mean, that's classic me. And I didn't force it though. It just works. So both Lee and Jonah, neither of them admit to having cried at any point in their adult lives. And they certainly don't cry in front of people, which means obviously they're gonna have to cry in front of each other at some point in this movie. So I'm glad I figured that out. And that's question 30. And that's questions 22 through 30. So I guess we've come to the end of our video. So thank you so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please hit the like button. And if you wanna see more, hit subscribe too. Doing a video every Wednesday documenting where I am in the process of making this film. And in the comments, if any of the questions struck you, if you also thought they sounded couples counseling-y, or if you want to throw shade at me for throwing shade at these questions, feel free. I love all your comments. I try to respond to every one of them as soon as I can see it. I get little notifications. It makes my day. So next week, we're going to be finishing up all of these questions to fall in love. I'm doing questions 31 through 36 next week. You gotta hold me to it. And I'm making myself accountable by saying it on this video. And after that, who knows? It's actually kind of scary. Maybe that's why I have been so delayed in finishing these. No, it's because of time. It's because of time. All right, friends. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.